everyone, it's Crissy and the holidays are officially here. So for today's So What, I'm going to teach you how to wrap presents with fabric instead of paper. I'm going to go over the supplies and the instructions, and by the end you'll be able to see how beautiful presents can be wrapped with fabric. All right, here we go. The supplies you're going to need. First of all, you're going to need fabric, and you can pretty much use any type of fabric out there. The only thing is that stretch fabric can be a little difficult, but it's still possible. The next thing you're going to need is going to be some scissors, and then you're also obviously going to need some presents. I would recommend using presents in boxes. That's going to make it the easiest. Also, you can use double-sided tape if you would like, and rubber bands. All right, so let's get into the instructions. So the good news is that most of these start with the same kind of technique. First of all, you're going to need to cut your fabric in a square, and depending on the size of your box, the size of the fabric is going to change. So for bigger boxes, you're going to need bigger amounts of fabric. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to place your present down in the middle of your square. Now, I like to put my square facing me in a diamond. And so what you're going to do is you're going to take the edge closest to you and fold it over. And you can either tuck this underneath the present, or you can also cut off that corner, but I don't like to do that. I like to just fold it underneath. Then you're going to take the next corner and fold it over. Now, depending on your pattern of your fabric, this can change. So obviously I'm using a striped pattern first, and so I'm trying to make it as precise as possible. I really want those stripes to line up. So you can see that I'm going to kind of play around with that. I'm also just going to show you how you can use double-sided tape to hold down your fabric, but you do not have to use double-sided tape. I actually prefer to not use it, and that way when somebody unwraps their present, it's just a big square piece of fabric, and it's kind of like magic. But for this one, I'm going to show you how you can use the double-sided tape. So I'm just putting my fold down and figuring out exactly where I want that fold. So I'm going to put it right in the middle of the box, and then I'm just going to take my double-sided tape and tape it down. So now I have it taped, I'm going to go ahead and kind of straighten out my folds. Now the next part is important. We do this every single time. So you're going to pinch the edges of your fabric together, and I kind of straighten it all out, and then you're going to do it on the other side. So we're going to go over this again, but on all of these, you are going to pinch the edges and then bring them up to meet together. You're just going to fold them up. So pinch and fold up. So I'm kind of a perfectionist, and so I'm trying to make mine look as neat as possible, but you don't have to. It kind of gives it a more rustic look if you don't do that. So for this one, I'm just going to do a top knot, and so you're just going to take your edges and tie a knot. I try to make it as tight as possible as well, just to make sure that the present really stays in there. So once I get my knot how I like it, you can either, leave it as such, or you can take the edges and fold them or tuck them into your knot. That makes it look even better, but that's just my personal aesthetic. All right, and once you get your knot exactly how you like it, then you have a perfectly wrapped present out of fabric. So let's move on to our next technique. So you're going to do the exact same thing, just put your present right in the middle, fold it over, and then fold it over again, and then pinch the edges together and pull them up, fold them in, and tie a knot. But I want to add a little bit something sassy to this one. So what I'm doing is taking a smaller piece of fabric and kind of folding it into a rectangle, and then what I'm going to do is just place it underneath my knot and twist it around, and it's going to create a wonderful handle. Now, both of these pieces of fabric were dyed at our indigo dyeing class. So if you are interested in learning how to dye your own fabric to wrap your presents, you can check out the video that Ellie and I did this summer, which is all about natural dyes. It's also on our YouTube channel. So you can tell that I'm just kind of wrapping it around, and then I'm just going to take that edge and tuck it right on into the fabric that I've wrapped around. And you'll never be able to tell that it's two pieces of fabric, and it turns out absolutely beautiful. right, so here we are again. We are going to do the exact same thing that we've been doing. I also used double-sided tape for this one just to show how nice and tight it can get with that double-sided tape. So just wrapping it around, and then I'm going to pinch my edges, fold them up, pinch the edge, fold it up, and I'm going to start by tying one part of a knot. And then I'm going to take some lovely fresh foliage and tuck it in to the knot. So I'm just going to go ahead and tuck those ends within my knot, and then you have this wonderful present that's wrapped with fresh foliage. This one is probably my favorite. All right, so last but not least, I'm going to take this tiny box and this silver fabric. Now this fabric is stretchy, and so it's a little harder, but just as we've done before, wrap it around, pinch the edges, but this time instead of tying a knot, I'm going to take a rubber band and tie it around. So you're going to kind of have this little firework of fabric up top. So next we are going to take our fabric, kind of separate those ends, and you're going to take one end and tuck it into the rubber band. And so this kind of takes some finagling. I try to make it as puffy as possible so that it really gets the effect in there. So just be patient with this one. I promise you it will look great at the end. So just take one end, tuck it into the rubber band, and then you're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. So we could just leave it at that and you would see a beautiful bow, but I really want the bow to stand out. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a piece of fabric that is a different color. I'm going to use black. I'm just going to cut kind of like a ribbon shape, and I'm going to tuck it underneath my bow and tie it through the middle. And this will really separate the elements of your bow and make it look absolutely wonderful. So I would totally suggest this one for kids. It's so much fun. It looks really festive, but also maybe you have some festive adults out there that would enjoy a giant Hello Kitty inspired bow on top of their present. All right, and here is how all of mine turned out. Happy holidays to everyone, and hope to see you next year. Bye!